Julian Angele, you've also been very much part of the ongoing movement in Ladakh for constitutional safeguards. Now, we've got a lot of views from people on why it's important for the people of Ladakh and, of course, also environment, but related to human survival and existence and thriving. We haven't got too much views yet on why it's important for the wildlife of Ladakh or the ecology of Ladakh. So, maybe if you can tell us a little bit about why you think getting these kinds of safeguards would be important for the unique wildlife of Ladakh.
Yeah, so thanks Ashishle for giving me this opportunity to speak.
Just introduce yourself. Also.
Yeah, so my name is Tsewang Namgail. I work for the Leopard Conservancy India Trust based in Ladakh. So it's very important for the wild animals and the ecology of Ladakh, of course, the safeguards that we are demanding. One thing that we need to understand is that there are a lot of wild animals that are living in the mountains and valleys of Ladakh, and they have been sustaining the people in this region. And so that is something that both the locals as well as tourists and whoever is interested in the issues of Ladakh need to understand that these animals have been really sustaining communities. And we work for the conservation of the snow leopard, and the snow leopard controls the population of the mountain sheep and goats, and that prevents overgrazing and that prevents flooding. So there are a lot of research across the planet looking at that linkage, and that is pretty much true about Ladakh also. So that is just one example. And if you look at the mountains and go trekking in the mountains, we used to see a lot of vultures 30-40 years ago, but these days you don't get to see that many vultures, and somehow they are being affected by all these developmental activities. Speaking of tourism, there are a lot of tourist camps coming up everywhere across the landscape of Ladakh, and these tourist camps are leading to proliferation of animals like dogs, which are feeding on all the carcasses, the dead animals in the mountains, and so the vultures are not getting these carcasses and dead animals, and so that's why their population is crashing. I mean there might be other reasons, but that is also one of the reasons, for example. So see, these animals play a very important role in keeping the communities, villagers healthy, and so that is something that it's high time that we understood the importance of these wild animals, and also safeguard them. If you want to safeguard people, the unique ethnicity, the culture and all of that, without preserving nature, you really won't be able to preserve culture, because these are both connected, and many people say that in fact nature is the mother of culture. So you won't be able to really preserve culture also if people are not healthy, because the environment and all the ecological ecosystems are compromised. The people are not getting the kind of ecosystem services that they should get. Then they won't be healthy. So it is important both for the locals and tourists and people who are coming to Ladakh. All the clean drinking water, the clean air that they are getting is because of these ecosystems functioning well. But the moment these ecosystems stop functioning, then everyone would be affected. So that is something that people need to understand, and that's why it's important to safeguard their future also for the future of people.
So you mentioned snow leopard and vultures. What are the other special species that you think need protection from this kind of maybe destructive or disruptive development?
So there are all kind. We talk about ecosystem services, keystone species, for example. That is a very important concept that we have in ecology. And if you look at the butterflies, for example, they play such an important role in pollinating the plants. If we don't have enough butterflies, then we won't have our food system secured, because they are the ones that is really helping plants kind of propagate. So I just told you about the vultures. A lot of people have been telling me, even I kind of realize in certain parts of Ladakh, we are seeing a decline in the population of butterflies. Also, we don't see that many butterflies that we used to see 20, 30 years ago. So that is, so I think, I mean, all species are playing their roles in keeping the system together. The ecological integrity that we talk about, everything is interdependent, be it butterflies, birds, mammals, even fishes, very important. So I mean, these are some examples, but I mean, I can go on and on giving examples. Birds, for example, birds play very important roles in both pollination, seed dispersal. All of these are important in a place like Ladakh, where it's very difficult to grow plants. The seeds don't get to the places where they have a chance of growing and kind of regenerating. So and these birds play that role of dispersing the seeds, taking to the right places, the right substrate where they have a chance of growing. Yeah,
And
so
Ladakh is also home to breeding populations of some very important species, right? So it's one of the few breeding sites of.
absolutely, absolutely. So birds, for example, the black-necked crane, it's been declared the state bird of the Union Territory of Ladakh now. Similarly, we get the bar-headed goose. They are the highest flying birds in the world. They are the champions when it comes to high altitude flying. And so we get quite a substantial population of that species. And so these are very unique, and they are breeding here in all the wetlands in the eastern part of Ladakh. And the wetlands are being threatened by all these developmental activities, be it road constructions, bridges, and whatever developmental activities are happening, their habitats are being affected. So somebody needs to really look at how they are being affected and what we can do to really mitigate those effects if we really want to survive in such a unyielding environment with very limited livelihood resources. So yeah, all species are. So there is this saying, but that canary in the coal mine. So in those places, people take this small bird, and the moment the bird stops singing, that means there's the oxygen is getting depleted. So all the people who work in the mines, they come out. And so I think in Ladakh there are a lot of canaries at the moment now. So we really need to identify those and really do something about them before it is too late. And I think it's one thing to talk about culture and the ethnic identity and all of that, but these are the things that are sustaining. These are the fabric of life. Without them, it will be very difficult. Although, as I said, that people cannot see the linkages very clearly because they don't get to see them on a day-to-day basis. But it's important that researches are done and we develop greater understanding of all these linkages.
But also in the traditional culture, because you mentioned a lot about how these species are important for us, for human beings,
Yeah.
but in themselves, the cultures here, would they be respecting, saying that they have their own right to existence and survival, and so it's not only because they're useful for human beings?
Absolutely. So Buddhism, the ethos of Buddhism are really very, very elaborate and beneficial to these animals. I mean, part of the reason that we still have the good population of many of the species are because of the social religious protection that these animals have been getting, and obviously there are a lot of things in Buddhism, so we need to kind of revisit and look at those also, and how we can really bring those Buddhist principles to protect this. In a way, let me also, I think it's relevant to mention it here, that the reason that some of the conservation programs that we put in place have been successful because of these Buddhist ethos, people not harming nature as long as they are not really affected badly. They don't mind, losing few sheep and goats to animals. But if the snow leopard, for example, get inside gets inside a livestock pen and kills 70, 80 sheep and goats. That is difficult for a family. Otherwise, they have been coexisting without much of a problem. So that Buddhist ethos and principles have been really contributing factor in making some of the conservation programs that we are putting in place. They have been successful because of these thinking and these beliefs and principles. So definitely, yeah. So those we need to kind of revoke.
And how do you think that getting sixth schedule and statehood would actually help to maybe reverse some of the negative impacts you spoke about and help to protect the wildlife?
Yeah, so everything kind of at the end of the day, we talk about the sustainability, sustainability of ecological systems, sustainability of culture, and all of that. And when we talk about sustainability, there are four main principles, pillars of sustainability. One is starting small. Second is increasing it slowly in increments, looking at the impact of the development on the ecology and the culture, and using local resources as much as possible. And the fourth one is, of course, local people having control over it, because the local people really understand the cultural and the ecological nuances. They would be really able to tell whether something is damaging or they're beneficial, while outsiders coming with very little experience of the landscape, of the ecology, of the culture, they won't be able to really see the kind of impact that the development project might have on the ecology and culture. So obviously, sixth schedule gives that opportunity for tribal people across the country, especially in the northeastern states. They have been enjoying the status of the sixth schedule, and there they can kind of take decisions about their own ecology, their culture, any customary practices that people might have. Governance system, for example, Ladakh has such a beautiful traditional governance system of the Goba system, which has been functioning so well. So the sixth schedule really gives the opportunity to the local people to really manage their own affairs, looking at the impact of development on the ecology, on the culture. So for that reason, it is important that we have sixth schedule. The statehood is, of course, or a legislature for the or a legislative assembly for the union territories, because all said and done, even if we have this sixth schedule, these councils, it would still, the state would be, the union territory would be run by a legion of bureaucrats, and they really don't have experience, whatsoever, and they can actually kind of become sometimes an obstacle in the implementation of some of the legislations that are formulated by the sixth schedule. So it's important to have the sixth schedule as well as a legislature or a statehood, so that on a larger scale at the state level, people also could have representation. They can actually develop the region as per their needs and aspirations, and only local people would be able to understand what are the needs and aspirations of people living in very remote parts of Ladakh, and not somebody who is just coming here for a couple of years and then somebody who doesn't have his or her skin in the game wouldn't really think about this seriously, but a local would, because of all these the ecological, the cultural, the relationship with the people, the long-term relationship. So that is why both of these are important, and so that's why.
But tell me one thing, because I noticed that, for instance, in Leh town itself, there's so much construction, so much commercialization happening. Last 15-20 years, Ladakhis have been exposed to those sorts of mindsets also. So even if you get statehood and sixth schedule, how confident are you that there will be, the mindset will continue to be in terms of sustainability and conservation and responsibility and all of that, and doesn't become what has happened to some of the other relatively newer states like Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh and Uttarakhand?
Yeah. So absolutely. I mean, I totally agree with you. So no system is foolproof unless people are conscious, what they are doing, and that is the reason. Somebody who is coming from thousands of kilometers away. As I said, that he or she wouldn't have his or her skin in the game. He or she could do a lot of damage, because there's nothing to look back at, or the consequences. He or she won't have much to kind of bear the consequences. While as somebody who's from the landscape, from the region, he or she will continue living in the place. There are a lot of things at stake for that person. So obviously we would need to work a lot to really kind of have the right kind of people in this sixth schedule and statehood or legislature. If we at some point get it, it's very important that we really elect the right people and let them take those decisions. Otherwise, there is no system is foolproof. If there are a lot of dishonest and people who really do not understand, all these the ecological sensitivity of the region, the cultural sensitivity of the region, if they get elected and come to these organizations or these bodies, then definitely that also wouldn't help much. It would kind of have some impact, some positive impact, but not at the level that one would expect if the people who are elected in these local bodies or the legislative assembly, if they really do not understand all these nuances.
And what about the communities themselves also, the empowerment of local communities? Because sitting in lay, those who get elected, like you're saying, even if they're the right mindset, what's happening down in the village level across the whole of huge expanse of Ladakh, doesn't it matter also what the village community, how empowered they are?
It is important. So I think what we need to also understand is that currently the GOBA system is like some of the remote areas, the GOBA systems are working perfectly fine. So if we have the sixth schedule, they will continue to function, and probably we can kind of make that a law to really preserve this traditional governance system. And they would continue functioning the way they have been functioning till now. And so obviously there are other instruments in the Indian Constitution, like the fifth schedule and all. But I think at this moment, if we kind of talk about a lot of these different schedules, for example, fifth schedule gives that opportunity, the PESA Act, the Panchayat extension to scheduled areas. But for that, then I think Ladakh need to be declared as a scheduled area, and then to have the sixth schedule, you need to be declared as a tribal area. So these are the two different things. And at some point, I think if there's a very progressive government and some people, really the well-meaning people at the right decision, at the right places who make those decisions, probably I think at the later stage we should also look at those possibilities which really empowers the local Gram Sabhas at the village level. People are empowered, be it their control on their land or water or whatever other resources they have. They would have much greater power in terms of so that is another provision that the Indian Constitution has, for example. But at the moment I don't think that villages are not really suffering because of bad governance. The traditional governance system has been working fine at the moment.
Well, thank you. All the best. You have the support from people from all over India.
Yeah.
And we are looking with a lot of concern but also hope at Ladakh. So
thank you so much, Ashish.
Thank you
For your support. Yes.
Chile, thank you, Namgail.
Chile.